Video 51, Grown Food, GM Crops. This is at Mrs. G Revises Food Prep. GM stands for genetic modification. A genetically modified food is one that's had all its genes altered to give it useful characteristics, such as improving its growth or changing its colour. GM plants are produced by inserting a desirable gene from another plant, an animal, or a bacterium into the plant that you want to improve. You plant your modified seeds and you grow your GM crop. GM maize has been made pest resistant. A farmer gets a bigger yield, so more maize, because less of the crop is eaten or damaged by pests. GM weed killer resistant crops can withstand chemicals that kill the weeds around the crop. Currently, no GM crops are grown in the UK, but it is popular in other countries. The USA grows lots of GM maize, cotton and soya beans. Advantages of GM. Crops can be made to grow quicker. Producers can get higher yields of the crop for the same amount of seed and fertiliser. This makes food cheaper to produce, so it's also cheaper for the consumer to buy. And crops can be altered to have a longer shelf life, so less food is wasted. More advantages. Crops can be made to ripen earlier than normal, so fresh food can be available for consumers earlier in the year. Crops can be modified to contain extra nutrients, which can improve nutrition in poorer countries. Golden rice is a good example of this, as it's been genetically modified to contain carotene, which provides vitamin A, which was able to stop a lot of blindness. Disadvantages of GM crops. GM foods haven't been around for long, so their long-term health effects aren't known. There are concerns that modified genes could get out into the wider environment and cause problems, such as the weed killer resistant gene could be transferred to a weed, making it an indestructible superweed. Other disadvantages are that GM producers can't sell their food everywhere. The European Union, EU, restricts the import of some GM foods. And consumers have safety concerns. Some people believe we shouldn't mess about with genes because it's not natural. In the European Union, all GM foods must undergo strict safety assessments and can only be sold if no health risks are identified. All foods that are GM or contain more than 1% GM ingredients must be clearly labelled. However, meat and dairy products from animals fed on GM feed are not labelled.